as Karabaldi, today we're going to talk about chest fly. Now, there are two variations at the gyms when you see people doing the chest fly. Some people put a mat on the ground and some people use a bench. I'm not going to be that much specific, but for the majority of the people who are just beginning to train, or they are training heavy, meaning less than 8 reps, it's not a good choice to use benches. Now, the reason is, as you can see, if I lay down and if the weight is just really heavy, when I come down, this is just going to be a lot of pressure on my shoulder, on my chest tendon, and also a lot of tension on my bicep. And when you do not have anything to support your elbow or your arm, when you go back, that can become problematic and that can cause a lot of problem. So I prefer to do this exercise on a mat 95% of the time, at least. Even I usually do it all the time, but just in rare occasions when I just want to do a lot of repetition, for example 20 repetitions, 30 repetitions with a light weight at the end of the exercise and with a weight that I know that I can control, and I really do it slowly just to stretch the chest. It's good to use a bench, but generally it's not good to use a bench. But you can have a mat. With a mat, when you do the fly, you're gonna have some support on your elbow. Now I'm gonna go through the steps that you should take when you do this exercise, and you're gonna understand how to perform the exercise. It is really simple, meaning that you really do not need to do anything specific with a large portion of your body from here down. It really does not matter. Everything is about chest and up. And you really need to be careful with this exercise. Although, as mentioned, it's really easy. You're not focusing on a large portion of your body, but you can get injured doing this exercise, even on the ground. As always, just for the health of the shoulder, it's better to put the arm in less than 80 degrees. Now, some people say 90 degrees, some people say a little bit higher, but the majority of people, 80 degrees is good. So if this is 0, if this degree of abduction is 0 compared to my torso or my body midline, if this is 90 degrees, bring it a little bit lower and make sure you keep it. Now, it goes with any other exercise as well, but for now, because we're using flies, your elbow is going to be extended a little bit, but that does not mean that you can bring the arm higher than the degree it is supposed to be. So below 80 degrees and not too much down either, so do not do the fly like this. Although it is safe, but you're going to use a lot of shoulder. Just make sure it's somewhere between 45 degrees to target the upper part, the clavicle parts of the chest, and the more you bring it up, it's going to be more sternum, the mid part, and the 80 degree is going to affect all of it, also the lower part a little bit as well, the part that goes to the sheath of the aponeurosis, the tendon of the ab, and it's gonna target that as well. It's not gonna be that much, but still it's gonna be affected. Now, there are a few things that you should notice when it comes to your elbow, your wrist, and how you move the weight. First of all, because this is dumbbell, you're not gonna have any kind of resistance when you just bring it all the way up. Here, I do not have any resistance. Let me show it to you. You see, when I bring it up, from here on, there is no resistance on my chest. I'm just holding the weight. So, just know that because the gravity is taking the weight down, from here, so this is just to the level of my body. When I bring it up, the more I bring it up, the easier it's going to be for my chest. The hardest part is when my elbow is just 1 centimeter off the ground. When it's on the ground, it's just the pain is going to be on the bicep. We're going to talk about it. When you just bring it 1 centimeter up, it's going to be the hardest part. So just know that you do not need to bring it all the way up. Just bring it to the level that you feel the tension. This was just about the degree. We talked about the level of abduction and adduction as well. There is also another thing, which is the degree of the elbow flexion. You see, the more you flex your elbow, the smaller the range of motion is gonna be. If I do this, the range of motion is really low. But if I do this, not only the range of motion is gonna be more, you're gonna feel it a lot more in the chest. When you're just flexing the bicep and flexing the elbow, first of all, the tension is gonna be mostly on your tricep if you just move it as well. If you do not move it and just do like this, you're not using the chest too much, and you're using a lot of bicep. You're just tiring your bicep as well. Also, you're gonna use a lot of shoulder. Make sure you bring the elbow down, but make sure your elbow is not fully straight as well. That's gonna cause a lot of problem with the elbow. So if this is a straight arm, just a little bit bent and keep it like this. I told you that I'm gonna talk about the bicep. When you keep your hand like this, you're gonna feel a little bit of tension and pain here in the tendon of the bicep, also in the bicep itself as well. You might even feel a little bit of tension, not a bad pain, but a little bit of tension because the muscle is contracted. So the bicep is gonna do some work, and you just cannot do anything. That just happens because the hand is straight and you're just not using the tricep. If you do this, the bicep is not gonna be that much under pressure. But when you do a fly, the bicep needs to hold the hand. Even if the arm is straight, still the bicep is gonna be under stretch. But for the safety of the elbow, make sure you just keep it a little bit bent. We talked about the elbow flexion level. We talked about the degree of abduction. We talked about the horizontal abduction and adduction as well. You should not bring it all the way back. There is one thing else that comes to the higher than the chest, which is the neck and the head. I see a lot of people, when they want to train the chest, they do something like this. Because this is hard, they just tilt their head all the way back. Or worse, they do this. Try to keep your neck neutral, and that means your head, neck, chest move with each other. So when you do this, or to the side, it's just not neutral. I'm not talking about this either. Just keep it in a position that you're used to and just do it in that manner. If you need to put something like a towel or something underneath your head, do that. But again, 90% of the people do not need to put something underneath their head. Just make sure you do not tilt it forward and back. Another thing that is really important is about the weight. You might not know what weight is good for you. First of all, this exercise is better to be performed with repetitions at least around 7, 8 is good. So anything below that, you might have you are susceptible to get injured. And do not just think about the chest itself. The most important thing is the bicep. You have to understand that the bicep, for the majority of people, bicep is weaker than the chest. So because your bicep is activated, you do not need to do heavy weight. So increase the repetitions. Also, it's better to do this exercise when you have fatigued your chest, so the chest and the bicep have kind of the same strength. As mentioned, the chest is normally stronger in people, so if you do it in the beginning of the exercise, you might feel it's just a little bit hard for the bicep and you're not feeling the tension in the chest. So it's better to fatigue the chest first and then jump to this exercise. You can do presses and things like that to fatigue the chest first. Now, it comes to the weight of the dumbbell. I told you I'm going to talk about the weight. You see, if you cannot start the exercise in this position and just bring the hand up, it means that the weight is too much. So if you want to just check the weight first, start small, and then if you want to do the exercise, try this. Lay down, make sure that the hand is not 90, a little bit lower, between 80 to 50 is good, 45, 50 is good, and just make sure you put the shoulder blades back. The leg positioning is based on yourself, however you feel comfortable. It's better to put the feet a little bit wide for stability, but that is not that much important unless you're doing one arm at a time. And also make sure the wrist is not down and to the sides, and just try to bring the dumbbell a little bit higher, so around 2 centimeters higher. If you feel a bad tension in your bicep, it means that the weight is too much for you to do this exercise. Your chest might be strong, but your bicep is not that much strong for this exercise. So bring it a little bit higher, and then bring the elbow up, 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 enough, down. And try to not touch the elbow to the ground. So keep it 1 centimeter, up, down, up. Make sure you do not change the degree of the elbow. Go wide. If you cannot go wide, choose a lighter weight. Do not flex your elbow. You're not doing anything for the chest. Just go as much straight as you can. Have a little bit bent, but just try to bring it up and do not change the degree of the elbow. Also, as mentioned, make sure the weight is not too much heavy, that your wrist is just all the way back. So keep the wrist like this and move the weight. Also, it is a bad practice to turn the weight like this. That can cause problem in your shoulder, in your supraspinatus, in your rotator cuff muscle, and that is just overall not a good practice. So if you want to target the upper part, it's just better to bring the dumbbells a little bit lower rather than just trying to rotate it. And actually rotating it is not doing that much of work from the upper chest. So just make sure you have the dumbbells in this position. You can even bring your hand a little bit, you can tilt it a little bit lower, so you're gonna have a little bit of internal rotation in the shoulder, but do not overdo it as well. So if this is neutral, just a little bit. And do it, you're gonna feel the upper parts more, and just make sure you do not do the opposite thing. Anabolic, make sure if you like the video, you like the video on my channel. Also leave your comments and thumbs up below. If you needed anything, any advice, just contact me, leave a comment, or talk to me on social media and tell me what videos you like to have on the channel.